Welcome back. My name is David Hopper. I want to thank you for being here, watching these videos as we continue to talk about launching new ministries, launching new campuses, launching new churches. This is part of a series from A to Z in helping us launch the best way possible. We are on B, building your launch team. I love B. I get excited about B because you get to move from self and assessment with A to B, now moving out, building your team up. Now, we're not talking about the paid teams or the employees or something like that. We're actually talking about that first team that comes around you, the encouragers, the volunteers, those that believe in what you're doing. These are key as you begin to start whatever you're launching. This is the people who just show up in your life. Most of the time, energy is really based on how many people are there as you start something. As a leader, I have found that people will talk about something being really good or something being just okay based on how many people were actually in the room, which is interesting because to me, the content is the same, the coffee and donuts are the same, the lighting in the room, the presentation, it's all the same. The only difference really in that moment and what they said was good or okay was about the amount of people in the room. Who is this first group of people that you can count on to show up? Because just getting people to show up as you are launching something new is really half the battle. In all the events I have led, I can tell you the good ones versus the bad ones, the good events that we launched versus the bad events that we launched based on who showed up. When everyone that I expected showed up, the event went off. I mean, all the stuff was great. It rocked. It doesn't even matter if there was some hiccups along the way. All my favorite people who said they were going to be there were there. It was exciting. It was great. But when I launched something and a bunch of people that I expected to show up didn't actually show up, the event was a dud. The whole thing just didn't have the same flow that I expected, didn't have the same energy. And so as we launched this new thing, it started off in a sputter. So as you begin to build your team, you want to think about those loyal, those reliant people that you can count on to show up. Surround yourself with people like that, the people that show up in your life, and you will find your first events really take off. Now, here's a key insight to think about. When you are choosing these first groups, these first events, whatever it is you're launching, you want to think about the location you're launching in. In ministry especially, sometimes we think about how God's going to bring a plethora, a myriad of people way beyond what we're thinking. And so we want to make sure we really give God the most amount of place so that he can make tons of people show up. That's not a good strategy. It sounds great. It sounds like you're being very spiritual. But the truth is, you want to think about who do I think is going to show up, how many people that is, and then pick a room that has exactly that amount. That way the room is full. It just changes the energy. Whatever your expectation is of who might show up, build your room around that very thing. Because you want a team, you want loyal people, you want reliant people that you know are going to show up, and then you want that room to be full of those people. That first event will be more successful if you have those two things in mind. The next thing, as you are building your team, you want to be thinking about how you're duplicating yourself. In almost everything that I have launched, on day one, I had to do everything. It's my thing, right? I'm the one that's thinking about it. I'm the one that's wanting to launch this new thing. Should I really expect a bunch of people right away to jump on and help me accomplish it? No, it's going to be all on you. You have to make it happen. You have to do almost everything. But what shows whether I'm a good leader versus just an okay leader is if I'm still doing everything on day 31. See, everything I do every month, I should be handing off things to those volunteers, to those first people who have joined me in this mission. Somehow I am training the next person in each thing that I'm doing. I want to be able to train them so that they can get that area going without me. So you begin, you show it by doing it yourself. And then you train that person along with you as they're watching what you're doing. And as they're watching, you begin to empower them more and more to take this over and move it forward without you, so you can then take on the next 10 tasks. You will continue to add to your plate only if you're able to get things off your plate. This should be an aspect of everyone's leadership, and no matter what you're doing. If you're not training your replacement at all times, then you are not thinking about the long-term ministry success. You're thinking about self-preservation. You're making sure you have a job. You're making sure that you're the only one that knows what you're doing over the value of the organization that you're trying to grow and launch. Now, what's interesting is that a normal person probably says, yeah, I want to keep my job. But personally, I just don't relate to that. I don't work just to have a job. I've never chosen a job that way. Life is too short to be that kind of short-minded person. I want to create things first, but even when I do work for someone else, I am training my replacement on day one because I want to continue to do things that's going to build this bigger and bigger. And maybe I do lose my job along the way. Yes, it has happened to where I've given my job up so much that there was not a need for me anymore. But those who understood, those kind of leaders who understand the bigger picture, they saw in me the value in what I was doing and how I was continuing to train people along the way. And it ended up putting me in much higher positions. Be someone that builds great teams. You do that by duplicating yourself, and you train your replacement starting on day one. That is the beginning of building your team. So let me say this again. First, start with that loyal and reliable group of people that you can count on showing up at the first events you launch. Second, begin duplicating yourself. Yes, you have to do everything on day one. That's what being the leader means. But immediately you start putting volunteers in those positions, you begin training them, showing them how to do it, and then empower them as they take over and they take it and they run and do things even beyond what you would have done. You keep empowering them to move forward so you can take on more and more parts of the ministry. Do the hard things. If you think about it, a housekeeper and a lawyer, they do the same thing in our world. They clean dirty problems. But one gets paid a lot more than the other. Why is that? Because the problems that they are cleaning are much harder to clean. See, if you're always doing things that someone else can do, you keep holding on to all those things that you first launched. You keep trying to do things yourself and your way, then you never move to those hard things that you really get paid to do. The things that are going to get you much further in this life, and the things that are going to launch your ministry to much higher heights. You want to think about those hard problems that you need to be spending your time with, and let go of the smaller things that you can continue to get volunteers trained up and ready and empowered to launch. The goal here is to launch great things. And the more you can hand off these challenging things and you start taking on the bigger challenges, then you're going to be much more successful. Choose to do the hard things. Why? Well, you don't want to waste your time on stuff anyone can do. You want to look around your world and figure out what is it that everyone else is avoiding because it's complicated, because it's challenging, because it has landmines all over it. Go for it. You be the one that steps up and takes on the hard challenges and continue to empower others to take on the other stuff. Now, you may fail at this because you're taking on the hard challenges, but at least you took the big swing. When you look back on your life, you're always going to be excited about those big swings you took in life. Now, having said that, point 4 here is you also need to do the little things, such as knowing everyone's name. Now, I would say even a moron knows that first tight group of leaders that join them, but do you also know their wife's name, their husband's name, their kids' names? Be the type of leader that knows their kids' birthdays, knows your team inside and out. When you have that first location as you're launching something new, be the type of leader that picks up the trash when they see it out in the parking lot. Speak well of people, no matter what or how frustrating someone is. Never be caught in a compromising position by just being someone that never says or does something that could be compromising. Be kind. Greet everyone in the room. These are the little things. When you go the extra mile, when somebody visits your organization or shows interest in what you're launching, you're the one that takes them on a tour and shows them each area of your building or your ministry or the concepts that you're actually trying to launch. Okay, so in this video, let's put this now into some practical things I want you to do as you move forward. First of all, begin to pray about this team. Pray about the exact team you want. Our minds have a GPS system within them. And what that means is when you start to tell God exactly what you want and you begin to describe it, and you could go down to like, I need a person that's going to help me with little kids who has the heart of gold and loves children. And it just, when you describe the person in detail, there's this GPS system that will go off in your head, and you will see that person begin to show up in your life, and God will show you exactly the right person. It's kind of like when you want a car and you begin saying, I really want a Jeep, and I want a Jeep Wrangler that has 4 doors, and it's just this. And all of a sudden what you'll notice happening is you notice Jeeps with 4 doors everywhere you go. And you're like, how did all these Jeeps suddenly show up? Well, you flipped a switch in your head. This GPS system went off in your head, and now your eyes and mind are just seeing that particular thing everywhere. That's what happens when we begin telling God the exact type of leaders that we want to show up in our ministries. So begin with praying exactly for what you want. Second thing I want you to do as you think about this homework is take some little note cards and write out all the things you're currently doing, like 10 of them. And in these note cards, I want you to say, currently I am, and then describe one task. Maybe if you're launching a new ministry, you have a follow-up ministry in which you write thank you notes. So one of your jobs on this note card is writing thank you notes. Make 10 of those of all the jobs you're currently doing, and hold those with you wherever you go. And when you come across someone that you think could be a great volunteer to take that one thing off of your shoulders, you can then tell them about this one job that you really need help with. And when you have it written down, you can describe it. People jump on stuff like that. When you have a job description, if it's only 3 lines, people will jump on that and go, I can do that. And there you go. You're taking things off your shoulders so you can begin doing the hard things, the little things, and everything else we talked about. Those 2 things will help you build a team right now. I'm so excited about this one because we're getting to move beyond ourselves and out and see who God begins to put in our life. So jump on these right away. Next time we'll be talking about C, crafting your vision. What is that vision that you're going to be launching as you launch this new ministry, this new church, this new campus, or whatever it is that you're launching?